The sacred threshold of dawn, reclaiming your morning through Buddhist wisdom. We've been taught to wake up wrong. The prevailing narrative screams for hustle, relentless pursuit of goals, a constant bombardment of noise. We're told to immediately check our phones, down our coffee, and spring into action. But have you ever truly paused to question this relentless pace? Why do so many of us awaken already burdened with stress? Why does our mind feel heavy before our feet even touch the floor? Why does the day often feel like an unchosen race, a relentless scramble from the moment we open our eyes? The truth is our mornings are inherently sacred, a pristine canvas awaiting the brushstrokes of our intention. And within the ancient teachings of Buddhism lies the profound key to unlocking their true potential. This isn't about rigid rules or burdensome pressure. It's about embracing silence, cultivating deep awareness, and fostering presence. For millennia, monks, sages, and earnest seekers have guarded a secret that much of the modern world has forgotten. The way you wake up is the way you live. If your mornings are steeped in chaos, your life will inevitably mirror that disarray. However, if you choose to greet the dawn with stillness, profound awareness, and clear intention, everything begins to shift, subtly but powerfully. Tonight, as you prepare to close your eyes, allow these ancient teachings to gently wash over you. Notice how your breath naturally slows, how your body begins to soften, and how your mind, that often noisy, restless, and scattered in inner world, slowly but surely starts to clear. You'll begin to remember who you truly are beneath the layers of daily demands, inherently calm, aware, and unshaken. And tomorrow morning, when the first light returns, you won't merely wake up. You will rise, stronger, clearer, and deeply grounded in something far more profound than mere routine. This is not just another sleep audio. It is an immersive journey into the very heart of Buddhist wisdom, a profound reset for your soul, a new and transformative way to begin your day. Are you ready to wake up differently? The first breath, a sacred arrival. Let's begin right at the cusp of wakefulness. Before you even stir, before the first stretch, before your eyes fully open, a sacred event unfolds. Your body, without conscious effort, begins to breathe automatically and gently. Yet astonishingly, most people completely miss this profound moment. The very first breath of the day is often overlooked, hurried past, or buried beneath the overwhelming weight of impending tasks and responsibilities. But in the tenets of Buddhism, this initial breath is paramount. It is everything. It's far more than just air entering your lungs. It is life itself arriving anew. It represents your very first conscious contact with the present moment, your inaugural opportunity to consciously decide how you wish to show up in the world. This isn't achieved through forced goals or strenuous effort, but through bare awareness. That first breath isn't merely a signal that you are alive. It is your very first chance to live with profound purpose. Here's what most people fail to realize. The way you breathe at the absolute beginning of your day sets a pervasive rhythm, not just for your physical body, but for your entire nervous system, your emotional state, and the quality of your thoughts. It initiates a cascade of effects. A fast, shallow breath typically correlates with a fast, agitated mind. Conversely, a slow, deep breath cultivates a grounded, stable presence. As you emerge from sleep, your nervous system is still in a remarkably soft and malleable state. Your brain is gently transitioning between the landscapes of dream and the realities of the day. It is open, highly impressionable, and whatever input you choose to feed it, be it calm or chaos, will be carried with you for hours, deeply influencing your experience. This is precisely why Buddhists treat the act of waking up as a spiritual threshold. It's not merely the end of sleep. It is the conscious beginning of intention. The breath transcends mere biology. It is the fundamental meeting point of your body and your mind. And when you consciously choose to start your day by noticing this simple, profound act, you are making a powerful declaration: I am choosing presence before pressure. Most of the time, our attention is mercilessly stolen before we even manage to get out of bed. A buzzing message, a lingering memory, a demanding plan. But your breath is an unwavering constant, always here, always offering you a choice to be swept away by the brewing storm of external demands, or to patiently stay with the silence of your inner world. In the earliest hours of the morning, long before the sun fully ascends, monks and monasteries are already deeply engaged in this practice. Their purpose isn't to perform a ritual or to achieve a specific outcome. It is to align their inner state. In Zen temples, the day commences in absolute stillness. No one speaks, no one scrolls through digital feeds. The very first action of the day is always directed inward. This is the profound wisdom. Before we attempt to face the external world, we must first and foremost face ourselves. Through the simple act of conscious breathing, we make that inner meeting honest, fully awake, and whole. Even a single breath, when taken with genuine awareness, becomes a small but significant act of transformation. It subtly shifts your body's chemistry. It gently softens your muscles, releasing lingering tension. And crucially, it grounds your mind, drawing it back from its usual scattered state. You don't need a special meditation cushion, fragrant incense, or even a guru to begin this practice. You don't need to do anything complex beyond simply feeling the air as it moves gently in and then out. That's it. That is the essence of the practice. Your breath is your most patient teacher, your immediate reset button, your quiet protector, and when you willingly offer it your undivided attention, it reciprocates by granting you profound peace. What makes this practice even more powerful is its inherent lack of effort. You are not attempting to control your breath, nor are you forcefully imposing calm upon yourself. Instead, you are simply witnessing. You are allowing your awareness to gently touch what is already present, what is already unfolding naturally within you. This, in essence, is the very heart of Buddhist practice, not to change what is, but to meet it fully. And in the act of meeting it fully, without resistance or judgment, everything profoundly shifts. Modern neuroscience is now increasingly validating these ancient insights. When you wake up and intentionally move into deep mindful breathing, your vagus nerve, a crucial component of your parasympathetic nervous system, sends calming messages of safety throughout your entire body. Your heartbeat naturally stabilizes. Your cortisol levels, the primary stress hormone, remain balanced and regulated. This isn't a mere trick or a placebo effect. It is your inherent biology beautifully responding to conscious attention, to intentional slowness, and to profound self-care. So when you breathe with genuine awareness, you are quite literally giving your body explicit permission to feel safe, steady, and whole. And a body that feels safe moves through the day with significantly more clarity, greater patience, and sustained energy. This isn't because it's forcing itself to try harder, but because it is deeply and intrinsically supported by its own regulated internal state. Beyond biology, the unbinding of thought, but beyond these measurable biological responses, something even more subtle and profound is taking place. The breath serves as a constant, gentle reminder that you are not your thoughts. When you first wake up, thoughts tend to arrive like an uncontrolled flood. What do I need to do today? What went wrong yesterday? What am I afraid of today? The mind races, pulling you into its narrative. However, if you consciously choose to stay with your breath instead, you are making a powerful choice to simply observe to witness. You are not caught in the overwhelming current of your mental chatter. You are instead calmly watching it pass by like clouds drifting across the sky. That in itself is an incredibly powerful act that truly is freedom. Buddhism refers to this as bare attention, attention without judgment, without elaborate stories. Just a pure, unadulterated awareness of what simply is. And the breath is the absolute perfect anchor for beginning this practice. You will inevitably notice that your breath isn't perfect. It constantly changes. It may feel uneven, tight, or shallow at times. But when you meet it with an attitude of compassion rather than rigid control, something profound softens within you. That gentle compassion is the fertile soil where true peace begins to grow. You are sending a powerful message to yourself even before your day truly begins, that you are inherently worthy of care and that you are capable of being with yourself exactly as you are without needing to change or fix anything. And from that deeply compassionate place, remarkable resilience truly begins to bloom. Think for a moment of all the mornings you've started with a jolt of stress. You may not have consciously noticed it, but your breath certainly did. It tensed, it shortened, it instinctively prepared for battle, for the perceived demands of the day. This is the default mode for most of us. We start our day on the defense, reacting to an unseen threat before we even fully rise from bed. But breath awareness fundamentally flips this script. You are no longer merely reacting, you are actively choosing to anchor yourself before you allow yourself to float into the day's current, choosing to settle your inner state before you make any physical movement. This transformative practice isn't exclusively reserved for meditating monks cloistered in remote temples. You don't need a quiet mountain retreat to engage in it. You simply need a moment. Lying comfortably in your bed, you gently bring your attention to the subtle sensations of your breath. You follow it not with force or rigid adherence, but with a profound sense of curiosity. You feel the gentle inhale, the fleeting pause, and the slow, complete exhale. Perhaps you do this just once, or maybe 3 times, or even 10. The exact number doesn't matter. What truly matters is that you consciously start here. Over time, you will begin to naturally crave this stillness. Your body will start to expect peace instead of anticipating panic. You will no longer bolt out of bed as if you are already behind schedule. Instead, you will rise like someone with a clear purpose, someone deeply connected to their inner center. And the more consistently you begin your day in this mindful way, the more naturally you will find yourself returning to this sense of presence throughout the busy hours that follow. It becomes your new baseline, your inner home. When things inevitably get hard, and they will, you will instinctively know how to come back, not through strenuous effort or intellectual analysis, but through the simple, unwavering anchor of your breath. This is where the profound philosophy of Buddhism transcends mere intellectual understanding and becomes a lived experience. You are no longer just reading about presence, you are actively practicing it, and the breath serves as the most accessible gateway. The ancient teachings consistently emphasize the importance of returning again and again to this present moment. This isn't because you have failed or made a mistake. It is precisely because that very act of returning is the practice itself. Every single breath offers a fresh chance to begin again, especially that sacred first one of the day. You will find that over time, this subtle practice fundamentally changes how you feel about the act of waking up itself. It's no longer something you dread or constantly delay. Instead, it becomes something you actively greet with open curiosity. You become more open, more alive, and more deeply engaged with the unfolding of the day. The day transforms from something you merely survive into something you consciously and fully meet. This shift changes absolutely everything. It profoundly impacts your mood, your patience levels, and your overall energy. But even more importantly, it deeply changes your relationship with yourself. You're no longer a stranger waking up into someone else's life. You are here fully present, completely as you are. And this profound presence manifests itself everywhere, in the mindful way you eat breakfast, in the compassionate way you speak to others, and in the grounded way you handle unexpected chaos. You become steadier, more anchored in your being. And it all began with how you consciously met your very first breath of the day. The teachings don't ask you to blindly believe anything. They simply ask you to look. And when you look closely enough with bare attention, you begin to perceive that nothing is truly separate. Your breath is intrinsically linked to your body. Your body is intimately connected to your mind. Your mind profoundly shapes your actions, and your actions in turn ultimately shape your entire world. So that single, seemingly insignificant breath, it matters far more than you could ever imagine. You'll also begin to notice the intricate layers of your experience. With each conscious breath, more awareness gently unfolds. You start to feel the subtle sensations in your chest, the quiet presence of your back, the lingering tension or surprising softness in your jaw. You stay with these sensations, not to fix or alter them, but simply to feel them fully. And that raw feeling is precisely what opens you, what powerfully reconnects you to your deepest aliveness. The morning breath isn't just about cultivating a superficial calm. It's about reconnecting with fundamental truth. It's about returning to the profound simplicity of being before the onslaught of emails, before the weight of decisions, before the demands of your various roles. And when you meet that sacred place, even if only briefly, you carry its essence with you throughout your day. You will walk differently. You will speak more gently. You will listen more deeply. Not because someone told you to, but because you are now genuinely rooted in something real and profoundly authentic. You might be tempted to dismiss this practice, thinking it's too simple to genuinely matter. But that's the mind's habitual voice speaking. The mind thrives on complexity, on elaborate puzzles. However, the body and the breath they crave simple truth. And the truth is genuine peace doesn't arrive through strenuous effort or complicated methods. It arrives through the simple act of noticing what's already here. And what is always already here is your breath, the precious gift of life, and the ever-present reality of existence every single morning. You have the power to transform this into your own sacred ritual, not a rigid rule, not a burdensome task, but a quiet, powerful remembering. Each day you return, you breathe, you begin again. And in that conscious beginning lies the seed of everything. So when the modern world insistently tells you to rush to grind, to ignore your inner voice, let your breath be your profound answer. Let it silently say, I choose presence. Let it quietly affirm, I begin with peace. Let it powerfully declare, this is my day, and I will meet it awake. No unnecessary effort, no manufactured drama, just the simple, profound act of breath. Just now, just you, stronger, calmer, and deeply grounded from the very first moment. And that truly is the start of something genuinely real and transformative. The waking bell, overcoming the rush and finding clarity. We often wake up in a world that immediately bombards us with noise notifications and responsibilities. But what if we could begin our days with quiet clarity, a spaciousness that sets a different tone for everything that follows? Buddhism teaches that every moment is an opportunity to begin anew, and the morning in particular offers a fresh, potent start. Beyond the rush, cultivating stillness. In our modern society, we are often caught in a relentless cycle of urgency. We wake up with an instant mental checklist of tasks, messages to respond to, and notifications to check. Our minds become immediately overstimulated, and we plunge into the day feeling stressed, anxious, and already behind. This constant state of doing before being robs us of our innate peace and potential. We are conditioned to believe that productivity equates to worth, and that an early frantic start is the only path to success. Yet this often leaves us feeling depleted, disconnected, and perpetually chasing our own tails. Buddhism, however, posits that stillness is the crucial key to unlocking clarity. When we consciously choose to dedicate even a few moments to stillness, in the morning, we grant our minds the invaluable opportunity to settle. We create a container in which we can observe our thoughts and emotions without being immediately swept away by their current. We can reconnect with the fundamental rhythm of our breath, feeling the life force flowing through our bodies, and recognize that pure, unadulterated presence is our natural state. This isn't about escaping the world. It's about grounding ourselves deeply within it so we can face its demands from a place of inner strength. To cultivate stillness in your morning, Consider integrating these simple yet profound practices: mindful breathing and meditation. Even a mere 5 to 10 minutes of focused breath awareness or formal meditation in the morning can profoundly shift your inner state. By simply observing the inhale and exhale, you train your mind to return to the present, fostering a sense of peace and grounded focus that can carry you through the day. This isn't about stopping thoughts, but about detaching from their pull. A mindful walk in nature. If possible, step outside for a short walk in a park garden or even just around your block. Engage your senses with the natural world. Feel the air on your skin. Notice the subtle sounds of birds or rustling leaves. Observe the changing light. This reconnection with nature can be incredibly grounding, allowing the quiet of the external world to seep into your internal landscape. Journaling with presence. Dedicate time to writing down your thoughts and feelings without judgment. This practice can help to release mental clutter, clarify your intentions, and create a dedicated space for self-reflection. It allows you to process emotions and insights that might otherwise remain suppressed, freeing up mental energy. Savoring your morning beverage. Instead of mindlessly chugging your coffee or tea, transform it into a mindful ritual. Hold the warm cup. Notice the aroma, feel the texture of the mug in your hands, and savor each sip. Pay attention to the flavors and the warmth spreading through your body. This simple act of conscious consumption grounds you in the present moment, turning a mundane routine into a moment of mindful nourishment. Body scan meditation. While still in bed, slowly bring your awareness to different parts of your body. Notice any sensations: warmth, coolness, tension, relaxation. Scan from your toes to the crown of your head, simply observing without judgment. This practice helps to release physical tension and brings you into deeper communion with your body, creating a sense of integration before you even move. These practices are not about adding more to your already busy schedule, but about transforming the quality of how you engage with your morning. They're invitations to slow down, to tune in, and to remember your innate capacity for peace. The waking bell, embracing the present moment. In Buddhist monasteries, bells are frequently used to signal the beginning of an activity or to gently remind practitioners to return their awareness to the present moment. The sound of the bell serves as a powerful prompt, an invitation to awaken, no matter what activity one might be engaged in. This ritual isn't just about timekeeping, it's about conscious awareness. In our daily lives, we can adopt this profound metaphor by treating our morning alarm clock as our own personal waking bell. Instead of immediately hitting snooze or frantically silencing it to jump out of bed, take a few precious seconds to simply listen to its sound. Feel the vibration of the sound within your body and allow it to gently guide your awareness back to the here and now. Let it be a signal to pause, to breathe, and to set an intention for the day, rather than merely a prompt for hurried action. Upon waking, and especially after hearing your waking bell, consider asking yourself these insightful questions. These aren't meant to be answered intellectually or exhaustively, but to gently guide your inner state. How do I feel right now, physically and emotionally? Notice sensations without judgment. What am I truly grateful for in this moment? Connect with appreciation even for the smallest things. How do I want to show up and begin this day? Set a clear intention for your attitude and actions. These simple yet profound questions can act as a compass, helping you to establish a clear intention for the day ahead and guide your actions from a place of conscious choice rather than autopilot reaction. They anchor you in your values before the external world can pull you in a myriad of directions. Embracing imperfection, meeting challenges with awareness. Life, by its very nature, is imperfect, and ironically, it is often our resistance to this inherent imperfection that causes us the most suffering. There will be mornings when, despite our best intentions, we wake up feeling anxious, burdened by negative emotions, or experiencing physical discomfort. In these moments, it is crucial to consciously acknowledge and meet the imperfection of life head-on rather than trying to push it away or pretend it doesn't exist. Buddhism teaches that imperfection and suffering are not signs of failure, but rather an intrinsic, unavoidable part of the human experience. We cannot entirely escape difficulties and challenges. They are woven into the fabric of existence. However, what we can learn to do is how to skillfully meet these imperfections. Instead of reacting with aversion or judgment, we can approach them with an attitude of mindful awareness and compassion. When discomfort arises in the morning, whether physical or emotional, try these approaches. Acknowledge without judgment. Simply note the sensation or emotion. For example, there is tightness in my chest, or a feeling of anxiety is present. Avoid adding a narrative like I shouldn't feel this way, or this is going to ruin my day. The act of labeling without judgment creates a vital space between you and the experience. Breathe into the discomfort. Instead of tightening around the feeling, direct your breath towards it. Imagine your breath softening the edges of the discomfort, creating space within it. This isn't about making the feeling go away, but about changing your relationship to it. Practice self-compassion. Recognize that feeling uncomfortable is a universal human experience. Offer yourself the same kindness and understanding you would offer a dear friend. Place a hand on your heart and perhaps silently say, "May I be kind to myself in this moment. May I accept what is." Remember impermanence. Bring to mind the truth that all things are impermanent. This feeling, this discomfort will also pass. It is not a fixed state. This perspective can loosen its grip and prevent you from identifying with it. Shift your focus gently. If the discomfort is overwhelming, gently shift your attention to a neutral or pleasant sensation, like the feeling of your feet on the floor or the warmth of the sun on your skin. This isn't avoidance, but a skillful redirecting of attention to create a more balanced experience. By embracing these practices, we learn that our capacity for peace and clarity is not dependent on perfect conditions. Instead, it flourishes precisely when we learn to meet all of life, the pleasant and the unpleasant, the perfect and the imperfect, with awareness, acceptance, and an open heart. This fundamental shift in perspective transforms challenges from obstacles into opportunities for deeper insight and greater resilience. It cultivates an inner steadiness that is not easily shaken by the transient nature of external circumstances. The sacred closing, sleep is a dharmic practice. As the day comes to a close, when the breath naturally begins to slow and the noise of the external world gradually softens, another profound doorway opens. Just as the first conscious breath marks the beginning of your day, the transition into sleep signifies its sacred closing. But this closing isn't an end in itself. It's a profound preparation, a crucial transition, a sacred threshold that most people inadvertently cross unconsciously, missing the immense power nestled within it. In Buddhism, sleep is far more than a mere pause between days. It's an active practice, a vital way of tending to the mind and heart before they dissolve into stillness. The way you consciously choose to fall asleep is deeply and intrinsically connected to the way you ultimately wake up. If you carry the chaos and unresolved tensions of the day into your bed, you will inevitably rise with a corresponding mental weight. Conversely, if you fall asleep with presence, intention, and a sense of release, you will naturally rise with greater clarity and lightness. That's precisely why dharmic sleep hygiene isn't about arbitrary rules or rigid routines. It's fundamentally about relationship, how you consciously relate to the moments just before rest, how you choose to treat the swirl of your thoughts before they coalesce into dreams, and how you genuinely care for your mind before it turns inward into the depths of unconsciousness. Beyond shutdown. Sleep as a return. Most people treat sleep like a hard shutdown. They push themselves relentlessly, running on fumes until they literally collapse into bed, exhausted. However, the Buddhist view embraces sleep as a conscious return, a deliberate act of letting go. It's a way to intentionally release the accumulated layers of the day, allowing the unconscious mind to rest freely and deeply. This isn't just about physical recovery, it's about profound mental purification. Sleep becomes a deeply spiritual act when approached with this kind of profound awareness. Buddhist monks, before gently closing their eyes each night, often engage in a powerful reflection on impermanence. This isn't embraced as a dark or morbid thought, but rather as a liberating technique, a way to consciously release clinging, to let go of everything that simply cannot be controlled. They don't carry the emotional or mental weight of the day's events into their dreams. Instead, they mindfully lay it down gently, one thought at a time. This isn't a practice exclusively for monastics. It's a transformative tool for anyone who desires to wake up feeling genuinely lighter and more refreshed. To prepare the mind for sleep in this dharmic way, you begin by meeting the end of your day with reverence, not drama. Avoid getting caught in mental loops of worry or regret. Instead, cultivate an attitude of gratitude. Review the day with softness, simply noticing what unfolded without judgment. Allow all the events and interactions and emotions to pass through your awareness like a gentle stream without clinging to any of them. This practice is known as daily recollection, a profound mental clearing that helps to dissolve the residue of thought. The primary point of this practice isn't to analyze or solve, it's to release. It's to recognize the inherently passing nature of everything, successes, frustrations, moments of laughter. Mistakes, it all moves, flows, and ultimately you don't need to carry any of it. This simple, non-judgmental reflection brings a deep sense of peace to your nervous system. It significantly lowers mental resistance, allowing your body to intuitively understand that the day is truly done and it's now safe to let go. Without this conscious kind of release, the subconscious mind often holds on to unresolved energy, and this unresolved energy manifests as restlessness, tension, poor sleep quality, and the dreaded foggy mornings. But when you meet your own experience at the end of the day with genuine compassion and clarity, sleep transforms into a powerful practice of surrender. Reducing stimulation, guarding the gateways. Another profoundly important element in preparing for dharmic sleep is the deliberate reduction of stimulation before bed. This goes far beyond the common advice about simply turning off your phone. In Buddhist psychology, the senses are considered vital gateways to the mind. Every sight, every sound, every thought leaves a subtle but lasting imprint on your consciousness. So if the very last thing you absorb before closing your eyes is a cacophony of noise, the unsettling feeling of comparison from social media, or a surge of distracting information, your mind will inevitably continue to process that chaotic energy even long after your body has physically settled for rest. However, if you choose to close your day with intentional simplicity, gentle lighting, quiet spaces, calming sounds, or the deliberate absence of external input, you are sending a clear, compassionate message to your mind. It is safe to release now. It is safe to rest. Chanting or reciting mantras can also serve as a remarkably effective tool to dissolve mental tension. In many Buddhist traditions, the rhythmic recitation of sacred syllables before sleep acts as a powerful form of mental cleansing. It's akin to brushing your teeth, but for your mind. The consistent repetition of these sounds calms the breath, slows the heart rate, and gently guides your awareness into deeper, more receptive states of consciousness. But more importantly, it replaces the incessant mental clutter and unhelpful thought loops with meaningful, resonant sound. That sacred sound becomes your final calming imprint for the night, ensuring that your last conscious input isn't worry, distracting screens, or spiraling thoughts, but rather pure intention and an energy that vibrates with profound peace. The body inherently follows the mind. So, when your mental state consciously softens and quiets before sleep, your physical system naturally responds in kind. Cortisol levels drop, blood pressure steadies, and you begin to drift into sleep naturally without struggle or the need to force anything. This kind of intentional preparation facilitates easier entry into deeper sleep cycles, and when you achieve truly deep sleep, you don't just rest, you genuinely heal on multiple levels. Precepts: karma and loving kindness, inner alignment. Buddhist monks also frequently engage in a period of reflection on the precepts before sleep. These aren't viewed as rigid rules to be strictly adhered to, but rather as gentle, compassionate reminders for daily living. Questions like, did I act with kindness today? Was I honest in my interactions? Did I speak from a place of love and wisdom? This gentle, non-judgmental review isn't about instilling guilt or self-criticism. Instead, it's about alignment. By simply noticing where your actions either did or did not align with your core values, you gently recalibrate your moral compass. You return to your inner center, and in doing so, you enter sleep more deeply aligned with your conscious intention to live a good, wholesome life. This process in Buddhist thought effectively cleanses the karma of the day. Karma in this context isn't about external reward or punishment. It's about subtle patterns, habits, and energetic imprints left on your consciousness. When you fall asleep with unresolved thoughts, unacknowledged emotions, or unexamined actions, those unconscious patterns continue to cycle, often manifesting as restlessness or disturbing dreams. But when you consciously acknowledge them with presence and acceptance, you interrupt the cycle. You send a powerful signal to your mind: I saw it, I learned from it, I let it go. This is essentially karmic hygiene, a profound mental clearing that empowers your next day to begin truly fresh and unburdened. Another remarkably powerful practice is the intentional cultivation of metta, or loving kindness, before sleep. As you lie down, instead of allowing your mind to cycle through its usual mental noise, you consciously direct gentle phrases of goodwill toward yourself and then toward others. Begin with yourself: may I be safe, may I be at peace, may I be free from suffering. Then extend these phrases outwards: may all beings rest with ease, may they be safe, may they be peaceful. These words, repeated slowly and with genuine presence, gently anchor your heart in compassion. They effectively replace self-criticism with profound self-care. They dissolve feelings of loneliness and isolation, creating an internal field of safety that supports deeper, more restorative rest. Many individuals who regularly practice metta before sleep notice a significant positive shift in their dreams. The subconscious mind begins to reflect the calming, compassionate energy of the heart, rather than the accumulated stress of the day. And over time, this consistent practice fosters a deeper, more integrated connection between your waking life and your dreaming life. You no longer divide your spiritual practice from your sleep. They organically become one, a continuous flow of awareness even during periods of deep rest. Conscious posture and the embrace of surrender. Even your posture matters not in a rigid, forced way, but as a subtle method of respecting your body's transition into rest. The Buddha himself advised monks to lie on their right side with mindfulness like a lion in repose. This means not slumping carelessly nor being overly tense, but maintaining a balanced, relaxed, yet subtly awake posture. While this specific posture isn't mandatory for everyone, the powerful principle behind it is universal. You don't merely collapse into sleep, you consciously enter it. You actively choose how to rest just as you choose how to wake. This intentionality elevates sleep from a mere biological necessity to a profound act of self-care and spiritual awareness. Buddhism also uniquely recognizes sleep as a gentle preparation for death. This isn't in a morbid or fear-inducing way, but rather as a profound practice of surrender. Each night, you temporarily let go of your identity. You release your need for control, and you dissolve into the unknown realm of unconsciousness. By consciously practicing this daily surrender with awareness, you significantly reduce fear, not just of sleep itself, but of impermanence, the fundamental truth that all things change and pass away. You become intimately familiar with the act of letting go. You gradually stop clinging to what is temporary. You learn to trust what comes after, even if it's unknown. This perspective, it elevates sleep to a sacred dimension. It's no longer something to escape into or to pass through unconsciously. It becomes a ritual, a profound training, an integral part of your spiritual path. And the more you consciously honor it, the more truly rested, deeply grounded, and fully awake you feel, not just in the morning, but throughout your entire life. The modern world compulsively trains us to maximize every single second, to constantly be on and productive. But in Buddhism, depth is consistently valued over speed. Therefore, a truly dharmic night isn't about achieving peak efficiency. It's about cultivating profound meaning. Even the simplest gestures, a slow intentional breath, the silent repetition of a quiet mantra, a single moment of genuine gratitude, can transform your entire night into a sacred practice. You are not rushing to bed simply to escape the day's demands. Instead, you are consciously walking into rest with reverence, with an attitude of profound respect for the process of letting go. And when you consistently practice this, night after night, something profound begins to change. You start to genuinely look forward to sleep, not as a mere shutdown, but as a personal sanctuary. Your room, once just a living space, begins to feel like a tranquil temple. Your bed, once just furniture, transforms into a sacred altar. Your breath, once an unconscious function, becomes a living prayer. And when you rise in the morning, you intrinsically carry that profound peace with you, because it's not a newly acquired peace. It's the very peace you consciously fell asleep with. This deeply intentional rhythm, built night after night, gradually reshapes your entire life. Your mornings become discernibly lighter. Your focus becomes sharper and more sustained. Your reactions to external stimuli soften. And this isn't because you're trying harder. It's because you are resting better, not just physically, but profoundly spiritually. Your entire system acclimates to stillness, and within that stillness, genuine wisdom effortlessly grows. Most importantly, you begin to remember deeply within your being that peace is always available. Even at the end of a long, demanding day, even when your mind feels tired, even when nothing external is perfectly resolved, the breath is still there. The profound awareness is still there. The comforting silence is still there. And in those precious final moments, before you drift into sleep, you can consciously choose to return to that sacred space. This is the authentic path of conscious rest, of sacred transition of sleep, not as an escape, but as a spiritual return. And just like that, the cycle profoundly continues. How you fall asleep fundamentally shapes how you rise, and how you rise in turn intrinsically shapes how you live. So when you close your eyes tonight, remember, you're not just ending your day. You're consciously preparing to wake up grounded, deeply calm, and unequivocally clear. You're purposefully stepping into stillness with profound intention. And your breath, your ever-present companion, will meet you there, patiently waiting. The Bodhisattva vow, rising with purpose for all beings. When the night has held you, when the breath has settled into its natural rhythm and rest has done its quiet restorative work, a new kind of stillness gently arrives. It's not sleep, nor is it yet the full clamor of waking thought. It's a liminal space, a moment before motion, a soft, alert awareness that hovers at the edge of consciousness. The body may begin to stir, the eyes might not yet be open, but the mind is unmistakably returning. This is a profoundly sacred point, yet one that passes quickly, often missed by most people who move too fast, forgetting the profound act of waking itself. But for the one who is consciously watching this is a moment of immense power, a precious space where intention can shape the entire day before the day begins to shape you. In Buddhist philosophy, that very first thought upon waking carries immense weight. The immediate direction of your mind, even in the first seconds after sleep, sets a powerful pattern for the hours to come. And if there's one practice that can transform this brief, quiet moment into something deeply meaningful and far-reaching, it is this silently grounding yourself in a vow. Not a mere task, not a superficial goal, but a profound vow, a deep, heartfelt commitment rooted in your most fundamental values. And no vow across countless traditions carries more clarity, more courage, or more expansive compassion than the Bodhisattva vow. A Bodhisattva is not someone who seeks peace or liberation solely for themselves. A Bodhisattva consciously wakes for the benefit of all beings. Even before rising from their bed, even before uttering a single word, they rededicate their very life to this purpose. In the profound silence, in the exquisite stillness of dawn, they anchor themselves to their core purpose, to live awake, to actively relieve suffering, to ceaselessly grow in wisdom, and to walk the path for the benefit of others as well as for themselves. This isn't a grand ceremonial vow, recited with ritual robes or public declarations. It is often a whispered promise, silently affirmed in the heart, at the very edge of dawn, precisely where it matters most, at that delicate point where the mind is still soft receptive, and the new day has not yet been touched by the distorting influence of ego or external noise. This Bodhisattva vow can take many forms across different Buddhist traditions. It can be traditional and formally structured, or deeply personal and simple, but the underlying energetic intention is always the same, a profound remembering. I do not wake just for myself. I wake to serve. I wake to see clearly. I wake to live with love. And when this vow is repeated even silently, something profound stirs within the body, something distinctly different from the typical rush of routine. It's not a surge of fleeting motivation, nor is it a jolt of adrenaline. It's something far quieter, more deeply grounded, a kind of profound inner alignment, a gentle but firm return to your deepest center before anything else attempts to pull you away. This practice isn't about spiritual performance or trying to appear noble. You're simply choosing not to wake up in an isolated vacuum. You're consciously reminding yourself of what genuinely matters before the emails arrive, before external opinions flood in, before you step into the demands of your various daily roles. This single vow, spoken without external sound, fundamentally reshapes how you enter your day. It effectively breaks the trance of self-focus. It dissolves the default habits of mental noise and chatter. It graciously invites the heart to lead even before your feet have touched the ground. Most people wake up and their immediate reflex is to reach for their phone, for their sense of identity often tied to external roles or problems, or for the problems awaiting them. But the Bodhisattva begins by pausing, by taking a sacred moment before doing anything else. They consciously remember why they rise, not because the world demands it, but because they have chosen with open heart and clear mind to meet the day with profound care, unwavering clarity, and dedicated service. That subtle shift, seemingly insignificant, holds enormous transformative power. Modern psychology now corroborates what ancient wisdom has long known: the very first thoughts of the day profoundly influence your emotional baseline for hours. A negative inner script, unchecked, can ripple outwards, manifesting as tension, reactivity, and a pervasive sense of disconnection throughout your day. But a vow, a true heartfelt vow, planted with sincere intention, seeds something entirely different. It infuses your mind with purpose. It activates neural circuits directly linked to compassion, altruism, and a deep sense of agency. It sets a tone that is far more resistant to the disruptive influence of fear or self-doubt. Repeating the Bodhisattva vow doesn't demand a significant investment of time. It demands sincerity. Even a single sentence repeated slowly with profound presence becomes a powerful act of internal self-direction. May I be of benefit. May I meet this day with an open heart. May I walk the path with integrity. These are not just empty words, they are living intentions that hold the mind steady, providing an unwavering compass when life inevitably becomes fast and demanding. That's why the vow must come first. This practice isn't about solving the world's problems before breakfast. It's about consciously planting the direction of your attention. The vow serves as your internal compass, and when your mind inevitably wanders, as it naturally will, you gently return to it, not because you're failing, but because that very act of returning is the practice itself. That gentle redirection again and again is precisely what builds the unique kind of mental strength that Buddhism honors: strength without tension, discipline without force, and profound compassion without emotional collapse. This vow also powerfully helps to dissolve the pervasive illusion of separation. Waking up is typically perceived as a deeply personal, isolated event. But the Bodhisattva understands their waking as fundamentally interconnected with all life. Their conscious presence, their cultivated energy, and their intentional choices inherently ripple outwards. Whether expressed through deliberate speech, compassionate action, or profound silence, they inherently influence the world around them. And so they choose to influence with care. That profound awareness softens the grip of the ego. It creates an expansive space around the self, and in that space there's ample room for others, for love, for patience, and for genuine, meaningful connection. Repeating the vow doesn't just help you strive to be a better person. It also helps you remember a fundamental truth: you are already enough. You are not taking the vow to fix yourself or to compensate for perceived flaws. You are taking it because underneath all the mental clutter and conditioning, there's an inherent clarity and goodness that yearns to rise and manifest. The vow, in its quiet way, clears the path for this true self to emerge. It silences the nagging internal voices that insist you must be perfect or constantly prove your worth. It invites you to wake up with profound trust, not just in the ancient teachings, but in your own innate capacity to grow, to serve, and to awaken. This practice becomes especially vital on difficult days, those mornings when you don't feel motivated, when life feels particularly heavy, or when uncertainty looms. The vow doesn't demand that you feel good. It simply asks you to return anyway, even when you're tired, even when you feel lost, even when your heart feels heavy. That unwavering consistency in the face of internal resistance becomes a remarkable source of strength, a quiet, unwavering resilience that silently declares, "Even now I walk the path, even now I serve." And that service doesn't have to be dramatic or outwardly grand. Often it's completely invisible, truly listening fully to a friend, letting go of a small, nagging resentment, or taking a conscious breath before reacting impulsively. These seemingly small actions, when deeply rooted in the Bodhisattva vow, become sacred. Because they arise from deep intention, not mere impulse. They spring forth from a profound inner depth, not from unconscious habit. Buddhism teaches that the mind is like a fertile field. What you consciously choose to plant there will inevitably grow. The Bodhisattva vow, repeated daily, is a powerful seed that over time blossoms into character, into profound clarity, and into a wisdom that remains unshaken by external praise or blame. It becomes an integral part of your very being, and with enough repetition, you may not even need to consciously speak the vow. It becomes an inherent presence, a quiet guiding current beneath everything you do. This is the essence of waking up with intention, not with external pressure, not with frantic urgency, but with a deeply grounded purpose. The Bodhisattva vow gently reminds you that your individual life is an integral part of something far larger than yourself. It reminds you that your very breath carries profound meaning, and that your actions, however small, inherently carry weight. This isn't because the world is constantly watching, but because you are watching. And when you begin your day in this manner, softly, inwardly, with an open heart, you carry something fundamentally different into the world. You don't have to force kindness or pretend to be calm. These qualities arise more naturally, more organically, because you've consciously remembered your deepest direction first. You've touched the vow before reaching for your phone. You've anchored your mind before it had a chance to float aimlessly. Over time, this practice deepens exponentially. The vow is no longer merely something you recite. It transforms into how you see, how you walk, how you simply are. You begin to notice suffering where you hadn't before, not in a way that overwhelms or drowns you, but in a way that awakens you to deeper connection. You respond to situations with more honesty, more gentleness, more profound wisdom, because the vow has systematically trained your heart to open instead of instinctively tightening in fear or defense. There is a profound strength in this, not a loud, aggressive strength, but an unshakable one, the kind that doesn't need to prove itself, the kind that simply keeps showing up consistently, no matter what external challenges arise. And this quiet, unwavering strength is precisely what the world so desperately needs more of, not in grand, sweeping gestures, but in countless small, steady awakenings. In individuals who remember their vow in the profound quiet of the morning and then courageously live it authentically in the overwhelming noise of the day. This is not merely a philosophical concept. It is a lived, transformative path, and the starting point is always here, always now. No special setting, no ideal timing, just you waking, just your breath steady, just your heart silently repeating what it already knows. May I live awake, may I be of benefit, may this day be walked with awareness. That's all. That's truly enough. The vow doesn't demand more than what you already possess. It asks for sincerity, for conscious return, for unwavering presence. And the more consistently you offer it, the more profoundly it gives back to you. And then one ordinary morning, without even needing to consciously think about it, you'll wake up and feel it rise before you speak it. You'll feel that pervasive sense of purpose like a steady inner flame, and you'll intuitively know that you're not walking alone. You're an integral part of something vast, something ancient, something profoundly alive, and that is how you truly begin. The resonance of sacred sound, tuning your morning frequency when you begin the day with a heartfelt vow, when the precious silence between sleep and conscious movement is filled with profound meaning. Instead of mere noise, something deep inside you settles. You don't just wake up, you rise into a state of authentic alignment. But even with such clear intention, the mind remains tender in those earliest moments of dawn. It's quiet, yes, but also uniquely vulnerable, exquisitely open. This space, this exquisite window of awareness, is delicate, waiting to be shaped. And few things possess the power to shape it more profoundly than sound. Not just any sound, but sacred sound. Not music designed purely to entertain, but vibrations meticulously crafted to guide and transform. Mantras ancient and intentionally imbued with spiritual power don't merely speak to your thinking mind. They bypass the intellectual filters and reach something far deeper, something beneath the surface of thought. They resonate with your nervous system, your subtle energy body, and your unconscious mind. And when consciously employed in the early hours of the morning, when the brain is still gently lingering in its natural theta and alpha rhythms, states often associated with deep relaxation and heightened receptivity, these sacred vibrations don't just sound different, they do something fundamentally different within your entire being. In the rich traditions of Buddhism and Vedic practices, the power of mantra has never been solely about the literal meaning of the words. It is first and foremost about vibration. The repetition of these resonant sounds isn't merely for the ear. It's designed to permeate and harmonize the entire body. It grounds the heart, gently slows the racing mind, and subtly syncs your internal rhythms into something ancient, something deeply steady and unwavering. These sacred sounds act like finely tuned tuning forks, gently bringing scattered thoughts into harmony and aligning dispersed energy into a state of coherence. The morning mind, being inherently open and receptive, allows mantra to enter that openness, not as jarring noise, but as profound nourishment. Scientific research increasingly confirms what monastics and yogis have practiced with unwavering dedication for centuries. Brainwave studies using advanced neuroimaging techniques consistently demonstrate that chanting specific syllables, such as Om Hum So Hum and countless others, significantly reduces activity in the default mode network DMN. This is the very part of the brain that is typically responsible for self-referential thinking, the incessant mental loop that most people immediately wake into. These thoughts often revolve around identity, perceived pressures, unresolved problems, and constant planning for the future. Sacred sounds, precisely by engaging a different part of the brain, effectively break that loop. They don't fight the mind or suppress its natural tendencies. Instead, they gently redirect it. You're not attempting to suppress anything. You're offering your mind a more stable, harmonious rhythm to follow, allowing it to settle into a deeper state of presence. Sound in its essence travels through the body more intimately and profoundly than it travels merely through the air. When you chant, even silently to yourself, the vibration moves through your chest, resonates in your throat, and subtly vibrates through your very bones. It becomes a full-body experience, an internal massage for your nervous system. That's why practicing mantra in the morning is far more than just spiritual poetry. It is an energetic architecture. It actively builds the foundational state of your being. It carves out sacred space within your nervous system for stillness, for unwavering clarity, and for sustained focus. This practice is especially potent when your mind is still gently hovering near the edges of sleep within that fertile theta/alpha window. This is a naturally meditative state. You don't have to force it. You are already there. And because the barrier between the conscious and unconscious mind is thinnest during this time, whatever you repeat either aloud or silently within sinks deeper. It doesn't just echo in your ears. It leaves a lasting imprint on your emotional baseline, shaping your internal experience for hours to come. You begin to feel the profound resonance long after the actual sound of the mantra has faded. Mantra doesn't demand blind belief. It primarily requires sincerity. You don't have to intellectually analyze each syllable or understand its complex etymology. You simply need to show up, repeat, feel, and allow your body to respond organically, because the body remembers what the thinking mind often forgets. The body intrinsically responds to rhythm, to tone, to deep resonance. This is not a conceptual practice, it is deeply felt. Mantras work precisely because they bypass mental resistance. They allow you to participate in peace, to embody a state of calm even before your analytical mind can argue with it or raise objections. This practice becomes a powerful way of consciously claiming the energy of your morning. Instead of passively absorbing the first external inputs of stress from screens, sensational headlines, or incessant mental chatter, you begin by actively setting your own internal frequency. You become the source of your inner state. You consciously fill your personal space with a vibration that inherently supports your deepest intention rather than distracting from it. This isn't about avoiding the world. It's about preparing your entire system to meet the world with unwavering presence and genuine inner strength. Ways to work with sacred sound. There are various profound ways to integrate sacred sound into your morning ritual. Some individuals choose to chant aloud, allowing the rich vibration to travel clearly through their vocal cords, feeling the physical resonance. Others prefer to chant internally, feeling the sound within their being without producing external volume. Both methods are equally effective. The fundamental key is attention. The repetition isn't mechanical or rote. It is profoundly mindful. Each repetition serves as a return, a reset, a subtle recalibration of your inner state. Some mantras are deceptively simple, powerful seed sounds, or bija mantras like Om Ram or Hum. Each of these carries unique energetic qualities. Om is often associated with expansion and universal consciousness. Ram, pronounced Ram, is connected to inner fire and divine will. Hum is often linked to purification and dissolving obstacles. These aren't merely labels. Over centuries, countless practitioners have discovered and verified their profound effects through direct felt experience. These syllables are refined ancient tools, each exquisitely tuned to influence different layers of consciousness. You can explore these one at a time, not as a performance, but as a deep inquiry. What does this sound do in my body? What happens to my breath, my mood, my posture when I repeat it? There are also longer mantras, often drawn from revered Buddhist sutras and tantric texts specifically designed to invoke particular states of being. The Avalokiteshvara mantra Om Mani Padme Hum is deeply associated with evoking profound compassion. The Medicine Buddha mantra is invoked for healing and well-being. The Tara mantra is chanted to support courage and swift, compassionate action. These longer mantras are not recited for someone else's approval or for external gain. They are a profound form of devotion, not necessarily to an external god, but to the very qualities you aspire to cultivate and embody within yourself. What matters most in mantra practice is consistent repetition, not to impress anyone, not to achieve a measurable outcome, but to subtly entrain your entire system. The more your body hears and resonates with these sounds, the more effortlessly it returns to a state of calm. The more your heart recognizes their profound rhythm, the more naturally it opens. These sacred sounds begin to live inside you. They become inner companions readily available. You can consciously call upon them throughout your day, in moments of stress, when fear arises, or when confusion clouds your mind. They are there not just as a distant memory, but as a living, vibrating presence. This consistency is precisely what transforms mantra from a temporary calm into a lasting transformation. A single chant might briefly calm the mind, but daily dedicated practice creates a fundamental shift in your very identity. You begin to feel different, not just during the sound itself, but long after it fades. Your tone of voice might soften. Your thinking slows down, becoming less frantic. Your reactions become more measured and considered. You don't need to consciously try so hard to be present because your baseline has already shifted closer to presence. Sound also possesses a unique capacity to bring the body and mind into the same integrated space. Most people live in a fragmented state. The body moves, the mind races, and emotions swirl separately. But sound inherently integrates. It unifies. The breath, the pulse, the attention all come together, coalescing around one central vibration. That unity becomes the gateway to wholeness. And wholeness, particularly in the morning, is not a luxury. It is the very foundation for how your entire system will function throughout the day. There's also a profound relationship between sacred sound and the flow of energy within the body. In yogic and Buddhist subtle energy systems, the body contains intricate channels known as nadis or meridians through which vital energy, prana or chi, moves. Sound, especially when repeated with clear intention, helps to clear and activate these pathways. Chanting is not just a mental exercise, it is a form of energetic hygiene. It clears stagnation, helps to move blocked emotions, and strengthens your overall energetic field. Some practitioners use mala beads in the morning to track repetitions, not as a scorecard for achievement, but as a tactile support for maintaining focus. 1 bead per repetition, a full mala of 108 chants, thus becomes a profound cycle of purification, a moving meditation in itself. Others prefer open-ended repetition, allowing the sound to continue until their system feels completely whole and settled. There's no single right way. There's only the honest way that resonates most deeply with you. The point is not how many times you chant, but how deeply and sincerely you meet the sound. It's also profoundly helpful to pay attention to what precedes the mantra, silence. That initial silence is an integral part of the practice. You begin with quiet, not a void of emptiness, but a space of gentle expectancy. The silence is alive. It prepares the body to receive. When the mantra enters, it lands deeper, resonating more profoundly. And when the mantra finishes, the silence that follows is not the same as the silence that preceded it. It is fuller. It vibrates with the profound essence of what was just spoken. This rhythm, silence, sound, silence, becomes a living language, one that doesn't require intellectual concepts. It's a direct conversation between your deeper self and the expansive field of life. You are not just preparing to live your day, you are actively participating in shaping it. This kind of intentional start transforms into a powerful form of spiritual protection. You're not closing yourself off from the world. Instead, you are consciously tuning your inner instrument before stepping into the symphony of daily life. You are ensuring that your internal energy is deeply aligned before it meets the myriad of external forces. And that fundamental alignment changes everything. Decisions become clearer. Emotions are experienced with greater spaciousness. Even external challenges lose some of their reactive grip precisely because you began your day in a state of deep inner coherence. And coherence, by its very nature, is something the world rarely offers. The world gives speed, distraction, and urgency. Mantra offers rhythm, repetition, and deep ground. You don't need to escape the world to stay centered. You simply need to return to sacred sound again and again. This is not a discipline of rigid control. It is a discipline of profound devotion. You come to the sound not to master it, but to be shaped by its inherent wisdom. You listen as much as you chant. You feel more than you think. The mantra doesn't need to change you. It gently reveals what's already steady and unwavering inside you, what's already profoundly awake. That revelation, experienced consistently over time, becomes unmistakable. You'll notice your mornings have more spaciousness. Your thoughts feel less sticky and overwhelming. Your body feels more available and responsive to the demands of the day. And when stress inevitably arises, you don't fight it. You instinctively return back to the breath, back to the body, back to the resonant sound. This is the profound work of sacred sound. It doesn't add more to your already busy life. It clears essential space within it. It doesn't impose a new artificial identity. It dissolves what's in the way of your natural inherent peace. And the morning, with its unique neurobiological receptivity, is the perfect fertile ground for that profound transformation to begin. Because when you start from a place of stillness, when you meet the day with vibration instead of jarring noise, you carry something fundamentally different into every hour that follows. You don't have to force presence. It's already here, vibrating just beneath the surface. You just need to listen. And now, as the morning continues to unfold, you've not only returned to clear intention, you've deeply returned to resonance, to the fundamental frequency of your own innate clarity. And that steady frequency becomes the unwavering ground upon which you will walk all day, the four immeasurables, training the heart for an open day. When the sacred sound fades and the last echo of mantra gently settles into silence, something profound and clear remains within you. The nervous system feels less guarded, the breath moves with more spaciousness, and the mind isn't racing forward. It's resting calmly in the present. You've begun the day not just with a sense of calm, but with a deep, resonant inner harmony. However, this opening, this peaceful readiness, is not the final step. It's merely a doorway, a threshold to something even deeper. Because now, with this newly created inner space, a crucial question emerges. What do you choose to plant into this open ground? What emotions, what thoughts, what direction will your heart intentionally take next? In Buddhist practice, there are four universally cherished qualities, known not only for their profound ethical beauty, but for their extraordinary transformative power, the four immeasurables. These are not simply abstract virtues or lofty ideals. They are potent inner tools, dynamic forces that, when consciously trained and cultivated regularly, possess the remarkable ability to reshape your emotional patterns, literally rewire your brain's responses, and regulate how you skillfully respond to every experience that follows throughout your day. And there is no better time to engage with them than first thing in the morning, when the mind is still soft open and uniquely neuroplastic, meaning it's more readily adaptable and receptive to new patterns, and your attention has not yet been hijacked by the day's demands. These four qualities, compassion, karuna, loving kindness, metta, empathetic joy, mudita, and equanimity, upekkha, are considered immeasurable for a profound reason. They're not bound by personal preference, by limited conditions, or by the inherent boundaries of the ego. You don't direct them only at people you like or who are easy to love. You don't passively wait for them to arise naturally by chance. Instead, you actively practice them deliberately. You cultivate them as intrinsic inner skills, as expansive emotional states that extend far beyond fleeting moods. Each one opens a different vital part of the heart, and each one, through consistent practice, strengthens a different crucial function in the brain. Together, they form a powerful morning training regimen, one that doesn't just make you feel good, but fundamentally transforms how your nervous systems responds to the entirety of life. 1. Compassion. Karuna. Staying present with suffering. Compassion is the first of the four immeasurables. It's important to understand that this is not merely a feeling of pity or sadness. Rather, it is the profound raw capacity to stay present with suffering without shutting down or turning away. In the early morning, when your thoughts are still gently forming their direction and haven't yet solidified into rigid narratives, sitting quietly and intentionally bringing to mind the suffering of others, not in a heavy, overwhelming way, but in a caring, spacious, and open manner, actively activates a specific vital part of your brain, known as the insula. This brain region is responsible for empathy, social cognition, and the deep feeling of interconnection. When you hold someone else's pain in your awareness with genuine care, without attempting to solve it, fix it, or judge it, you are actively strengthening this neural circuitry. And in doing so, you are paradoxically building your own profound resilience. Compassion doesn't make you softer in a fragile, vulnerable way. It makes you exponentially stronger in a deeply connected way. Your heart learns not to instinctively turn away from discomfort, but to open towards it. In the morning, this intentional reflection on compassion effectively rewires how you relate to challenges throughout your day. Instead of defaulting to frustration, defensiveness, or avoidance, you begin with an intrinsic availability. You carry this cultivated quality with you when you encounter a challenging look from someone on the street, or a harsh tone in an email, or a task that feels heavy and burdensome. Your default reaction is often to protect yourself, to armor up. But if compassion is already alive and active in your system, you remain open instead. You move from a place of genuine care, not from a perceived threat. And this fundamental shift in your internal posture changes everything about how you experience and respond to the world. 2. Loving kindness, metta, the wish for well-being. Loving kindness, or metta, is the second of the four immeasurables. While compassion focuses on the heartfelt wish to alleviate suffering, loving kindness focuses on the active wish for well-being, for happiness, for safety, for yourself, and for all beings. This too is skillfully practiced in the morning before your emotions have had a chance to harden into habitual reactions. And again, it is consciously trained, not left to chance or spontaneous emergence. You begin by gently offering simple, affirming phrases inwardly to yourself. May I be well, may I be peaceful, may I live with ease, may I be free from suffering. The purpose here is not to pretend to feel good if you don't, or to gloss over any pain. It is to deliberately set a tone, to establish a baseline of genuine goodwill towards yourself. Neuroscience indicates that these kinds of thoughts activate positive emotion circuits within the prefrontal cortex. But more importantly, they create a profound sense of emotional safety, an intrinsic feeling that it's okay to soften, to open to care for yourself. After directing these phrases toward yourself, you consciously extend them outward. First to someone you genuinely love, then to someone you feel neutral about, and eventually, incrementally, to someone you struggle with. This isn't about approving of their actions or condoning any harm they may have caused. It's about a radical act of freeing yourself from the burden of ill will and resentment. This practice doesn't eliminate conflict in the world, but it significantly reduces your mind's habitual tendency to carry and perpetuate it internally. You consciously stop feeding the limiting stories that close your heart, and over time, your brain gradually rewires itself to expect connection and spaciousness instead of reinforcing patterns of division and separation. Cultivating loving kindness in the morning sets a very specific, nurturing tone for your day. It communicates to your body at a deep cellular level that you are safe enough to relax, that you don't have to armor yourself to meet the world. It affirms that the very first movement of your mind is one of goodwill, not of fear. And that seemingly small shift creates a powerful domino effect. You become less reactive, less defensive. You listen more deeply. You judge less harshly. And the remarkable thing is, it doesn't feel effortful. It is the natural, organic result of your mind having been skillfully conditioned to lean towards care, towards connection, towards an open heart. 3. Empathetic joy, mudita, celebrating others' happiness. Empathetic joy, or mudita, is the third immeasurable. It may sound deceptively simple, yet it is often considered one of the most challenging and simultaneously profoundly liberating practices. It is the conscious cultivation of genuine happiness for others. This is not envy, not comparison, but an authentic, unadulterated delight in someone else's well-being, success, or good fortune. This practice actively rewires the emotional brain away from scarcity. It systematically undoes the deeply ingrained pattern that whispers, their success somehow means less for me. And in the morning, when the brain's story of self is just beginning to awaken, intentionally inserting this kind of expansive joy before the ego fully takes the wheel is deeply transformative. You consciously bring to mind someone you know who is genuinely thriving, perhaps celebrating a recent achievement, enjoying good health, or experiencing profound happiness. You then focus on their joy, their success, their well-being, and you repeat not mechanically but sincerely, may your happiness continue, may your joy grow, may you be free from suffering. This practice has been shown to activate reward centers in the brain, much like receiving a gift yourself, but it does so without the need for personal attachment or external validation. You systematically become someone who celebrates naturally, who rejoices authentically without needing to be the center of attention. And this kind of emotional freedom in a world steeped in comparison is exceedingly rare. Most people carry subtle, often unconscious resentment in their bodies. Even if it's never spoken aloud, it resides like quiet static beneath the surface, a persistent tension, a subtle contraction. Empathetic joy practice systematically dissolves that internal static. It teaches the body to relax and expand in the presence of other people's goodness. It frees up immense energy that was previously stuck in unproductive comparison, and it opens the heart wider and more authentically than personal success alone ever could. 4. Equanimity, upekkha, the wisdom of balance. Equanimity, the last of the 4 immeasurables, is in many profound ways the one that holds them all together. It is the practice of balance, not a cold, numb detachment, but a stable, clear, unwavering clarity. It's the willingness to hold both joy and sorrow, success and failure, pleasure and pain, without being pulled apart by their extremes. And in the morning, when the mind naturally tends to gravitate towards extremes, either worrying obsessively about the future or clinging to regrets from the past, equanimity acts as a powerful stabilizer. It communicates a profound truth to your entire system: everything will change, and I can meet it all. This is not a cold, indifferent detachment. It is a warm, spacious presence without clinging. You reflect on the fundamental truth that every person, including yourself, is ultimately responsible for their own actions, their own choices, and their own unique journey through life. You still care deeply. You still offer help and support, but you release the illusion of absolute control over external outcomes or other people's experiences. And in doing so, you free your nervous system from immense unnecessary tension. The mind no longer compulsively grabs every emotion and makes it intensely personal. It learns to stay wide, clear, and deeply grounded. Practicing equanimity first thing in the morning skillfully trains your attention not to chase what feels good or to fight what feels bad. It helps you meet the day with an unwavering steadiness, a quiet resilience. You're not trying to manipulate your experience or bend reality to your will. You are simply allowing experience to come and go in its natural flow while remaining firmly rooted in your inner center. This mental posture cultivates remarkable emotional flexibility. You bend, but you don't break. You feel deeply, but you are not consumed by your feelings. This is inner strength at its most subtle, yet most profound. Each of the four immeasurables performs a specific, unique function, but together, when cultivated consistently, they create a nervous system that instinctively knows how to stay open, how to stay kind, and how to stay steady in an ever-changing and often unpredictable world. And when these are practiced diligently in the morning, they transcend mere ideals. They become ingrained habits, deeply woven neural patterns, and transformative emotional templates. The brain intrinsically wires what it repeatedly rehearses. So if your very first thoughts each day are consistently thoughts of care, compassion, joy, and balance, your entire system begins to organically operate from that higher, more harmonious frequency. This kind of consistent practice also profoundly expands your sense of identity. You are no longer merely a person mechanically moving through a series of tasks. You become a profound presence, a vibrant field of awareness that touches everything it encounters with clarity, kindness, and an open heart. You stop perceiving the day as something merely to get through. You begin to genuinely see it as something to serve with a sacred opportunity for engagement. Each interaction becomes a continuation of your morning training. Each challenge transforms into a rich opportunity to apply your practice. And over time, these cultivated qualities begin to arise effortlessly, even without conscious prompting. You find yourself responding with compassion before you even think about it. You feel genuine joy for others without needing to try. You move through stress and difficulty without losing your inner balance. These are not inherent personality traits. They are skillfully trained responses, and you train them one morning at a time with unwavering dedication. The inherent beauty of the four immeasurables lies in their constant availability. They don't require external conditions, nor do they depend on your fleeting mood. They don't demand elaborate rituals or external tools. They simply require your willingness, a few minutes of sincere presence, and a few breaths of dedicated attention. And the profound results echo far beyond the practice itself. They fundamentally shape how you move through space, how you treat other people, how you hold your own pain and discomfort, and most significantly, they transform what you radiate into the world. Because even if no one else observes your quiet morning practice, they will undoubtedly feel its impact in your tone, in your presence, and in the conscious choices you make. This is how deep inner work translates into powerful outer impact, not through forced effort, but through quiet, unwavering consistency. And so as you continue forward into your day, you do so from a place that is not just calm, but consciously cultivated. You've not only opened your day with profound care, you've actively trained the very qualities that will gracefully carry you through it. And that kind of self-training is precisely what makes the mind not just awake, but profoundly awake and wise. That is the remarkable strength of beginning your day with the four immeasurables. You're not just preparing for what lies ahead, you're actively transforming the very kind of person who is meeting it. The middle way, navigating your day with balanced energy. Once the heart has been trained toward care, once the emotional center is softened and opened through the cultivation of the four immeasurables, a different kind of clarity begins to emerge. This clarity isn't just about how we feel, it's profoundly about how we move, how we act, and how we skillfully shape the hours that lie ahead. Because even with compassion alive, even with presence deeply felt, there's still one major challenge, waiting quietly just beyond those first waking moments, the pervasive pull toward extremes. One part of you may instinctively want to rush to achieve, to perform, to do everything perfectly, often driven by an underlying sense of anxiety or the fear of falling behind. Another part might yearn to retreat, to avoid, to postpone the day entirely, perhaps from a feeling of overwhelm or a desire for perpetual comfort. This inner split is remarkably common. It's rarely spoken about openly, but it defines how countless people begin their mornings, either in a state of silent, self-imposed pressure or a subtle, pervasive avoidance. And it is precisely here that one of the most vital and ancient teachings in Buddhism becomes deeply relevant, the middle way. This isn't a vague, abstract idea about finding balance. It is a profoundly practical, trainable, and embodied approach that skillfully threads a path between frantic overdrive and passive apathy. It's a nuanced navigation between harsh self-discipline and unskillful passive drifting, between relentlessly chasing the perfect morning routine and completely giving up on cultivating one altogether. The middle way was in fact the very foundation of the Buddha's awakening. He had rigorously tried both extremes in his own life, first a period of extreme indulgence, followed by years of severe renunciation and asceticism. He discovered that neither path ultimately led to lasting peace or liberation. It was only through consciously embracing the middle way, a path of skillful effort and mindful presence, that he found genuine freedom. And that same path, with its profound wisdom, can be diligently applied each morning as a practical way to meet life with grounded, sustainable energy. The extremes of the modern morning: urgency versus disconnection. The modern world often forces us to start our days in one of two prevailing extremes, both of which ultimately detract from our well-being and genuine presence. The first extreme is urgency. This manifests as wake up fast, check messages immediately, get ahead, conquer the day. The nervous system is instantly activated, flooded with a palpable sense of pressure, and often this state is paradoxically praised and celebrated. Being hyperproductive early is frequently seen as a sign of disciplined success and moral fortitude. However, when examined closely through the lens of mindfulness, this pattern rarely brings genuine clarity. Instead, it typically brings contraction, a tightening in the body, a narrowing of the mind. It's not rooted in a conscious intention. It's rooted in a habitual reactive response to perceived external demands. The body may move quickly, but the mind is often not truly present, merely racing ahead or reacting to external stimuli. You're not authentically connected to the richness of life unfolding in the moment. You're often unconsciously escaping the inherent discomfort of slowing down, of simply being. The second extreme is disconnection. This involves repeatedly hitting the snooze button, feeling heavy and lethargic, knowing the day has arrived, but actively avoiding it. This isn't genuine rest. It's more accurately described as resignation or a subtle form of apathy. The system isn't truly relaxing. It's collapsing under the weight of inertia. Often, this is mistakenly perceived as being soft or kind to oneself. But in truth, it's a passive form of suffering. The energy feels stuck stagnant. The mind remains unclear, clouded by drowsiness or vague anxieties. The heart is unsure, lacking clear direction, and the mental weight only grows heavier the longer this avoidance lingers, making the eventual transition into the day even more arduous. The middle way. Noticing before choosing the middle way offers a profound and liberating third option, one that genuinely honors the body's subtle signals, respects the mind's inherent complexity, and consistently returns to presence again and again. It begins not with immediate action or inaction, but with noticing before choosing. You consciously pause, you gently observe. What does my body genuinely feel like right now? Is it tense, rested, sluggish? What thoughts are spontaneously present in my mind? What is the underlying energy that seems to be guiding me in this moment? You don't immediately analyze. You don't try to fix anything. You simply listen. This deep, non-judgmental awareness is the crucial first step out of rigidity, whether that rigidity is hard overdrive or soft apathy. Rigidity, in essence, is the core issue. In overdrive, there's a distinct tightness, a compulsive need to control, to force outcomes. In apathy, there's a pervasive numbness, a subtle refusal to engage with life. Both are closed systems. Both resist the natural flow of life. The middle way, by contrast, remains inherently responsive. You learn to meet the energy of the moment precisely as it is, without collapsing into it or trying to conquer it. This creates space for conscious choice, space for subtle, skillful action, and precious space for your deepest intention to gently move the body forward. One of the practical daily practices that powerfully supports the middle way is checking your internal posture. This goes beyond merely how you're sitting or standing. It refers to your energetic and mental approach to the present moment. Is there tension in your jaw? Are you unconsciously holding your breath? Is your mind already speeding ahead, consumed by future plans or worries? These seemingly small, often overlooked signs reveal whether you are leaning toward over-engagement, pushing too hard, or under-engagement, withdrawing. From that point of awareness, you can gently return to balance. You soften what feels tight. You gently enliven what feels dull or sluggish. You don't force balance, you simply remember it, allowing your system to naturally recalibrate. In the early morning, your brain is not yet fully locked into its habitual, well-worn patterns. This unique window of pliability makes it a highly fertile ground where new responses can be trained and integrated more easily than at any other time of day. The middle way in this context becomes not just an intellectual decision, but an actual nervous system state. You are actively teaching your body what easeful effort feels like, what it's truly like to move with presence, to begin the day without the compulsive urge to push or the passive tendency to retreat. This approach also fundamentally reshapes how your goals are held. Instead of clinging tightly to desired outcomes, you intentionally bring your attention to the process. You might still write your to-do list. You will still show up for your work with dedication, but you are no longer driven by the insidious forces of fear or ego. Instead, you are moved by a deep internal alignment. The difference, while subtle from the outside, is profoundly real internally. In the state of attachment, the energy feels desperate, strained. In the state of alignment, it feels anchored, grounded, and expansive. Your body, with its innate wisdom, can discern this difference even if the external actions appear identical. The middle way also compassionately removes the heavy burden of moral judgment from how your day begins. You cease labeling yourself as good when you're highly productive, or bad when you're slow or need rest. These rigid labels create inner tension, self-criticism, and inadvertently feed the very extremes the path endeavors to avoid. Instead, you learn to ask more honest, insightful questions. Was I present in this moment? Did I genuinely listen to what this moment truly needed? Did I act from a place of genuine connection or from a reactive impulse? You begin to understand that effort is not the enemy, and neither is rest. It is the underlying quality behind each action that truly matters. You can move quickly with profound mindfulness. You can rest deeply with keen alertness. There is no single correct pace for everyone. The key is flexibility, responsiveness, and an inner fluidity that remains intimately in touch with the nuanced reality of each moment, rather than rigidly adhering to some preconceived idea of how things should be. Inner flexibility and sustainable effort. This kind of profound inner flexibility is powerfully supported by incorporating rituals that do not demand perfection. You can consciously build a morning rhythm that possesses a clear structure, but crucially also incorporates ample space. Perhaps it includes a few minutes of conscious breath work, a short mindful walk, or reading something that deeply grounds your spirit. These are not rigid obligations or external demands. They are touchstones, gentle anchors that bring you back to your center. You are not forcing your body to fit an artificial shape. You are gracefully shaping the energy of your day with gentle consistency. And if the plan inevitably changes, as life often does, that becomes an integral part of the practice itself. The middle way teaches you to hold discipline without rigidity. Some mornings will flow effortlessly, others simply won't. You don't fight this inherent ebb and flow. You skillfully work with what is present. If the mind feels foggy, you meet it with gentle clarity. If the body feels heavy, you meet it with profound compassion. But crucially, you still rise, you still show up. The effort may be smaller on certain days, but the underlying sincerity and intention remain constant. That precisely is the path. This nuanced approach builds a profound sense of confidence, not derived from doing everything perfectly, but from knowing deep within your being that you possess the inherent capacity to return. That the act of returning time and again is in itself enough. That your identity is not rigidly tied to external performance or fleeting outcomes. It is intrinsically tied to presence. And when presence becomes your unwavering foundation, both external failure and fleeting success lose their tight grip on your inner state. You stop clinging to specific outcomes. You begin to value awareness itself as the ultimate prize. The middle way also teaches you to respectfully honor your natural energy cycles. Some days you will naturally have high energy, others you will not. But both states are workable. You learn to skillfully lean into what's available, rather than pushing beyond your limits into burnout, or conversely withdrawing entirely from opportunities for growth. It's a relationship with effort that is nuanced, mature, and deeply sustainable. This sustainability is absolutely vital for long-term well-being. Extremes inevitably lead to burnout and exhaustion. Rigidity often creates rebellion and inner conflict. But when you learn how to begin the day with this kind of balanced, mindful engagement, your entire system begins to trust you. It knows it won't be relentlessly forced or pushed. It also knows it won't be passively neglected or allowed to stagnate. That deep inner trust allows you to consistently build a morning rhythm that doesn't collapse under pressure. And perhaps most importantly, the middle way reconnects you with a profound sense of joy, not the fleeting excitement of external achievements, not the temporary escape of distraction, but the quiet, abiding joy of being in harmonious alignment with your own inherent nature. There is a deep intrinsic pleasure that arises when your actions flow organically from a place of presence. It's not dramatic, but it's steadfast, unwavering. A profound sense that you are perfectly aligned even if the day ahead remains uncertain and unpredictable. This deep joy becomes a quiet, powerful motivator. You no longer wake up frantically chasing something external or desperately avoiding something internal. You wake up consciously returning to something to yourself, not as a fixed, rigid identity, but as an ever-evolving presence, profoundly capable of meeting each moment honestly and skillfully. You are not the same person every morning, and that's precisely why the middle way is so remarkably powerful. It adjusts. It meets you exactly where you are in this very moment and gracefully walks forward with you. That walk becomes a path not towards some elusive perfection, but towards a profound integration. You are no longer split between the exhausting extremes of overdoing or the suffocating fog of underliving. You have found your authentic center, and from that unwavering center, you genuinely live. This is how Buddhist practice gracefully enters the physical body, permeates your daily schedule, and transforms the very way you meet the world. Not as a burdensome rule, not as an oppressive weight, but as a living way, a skillful way of returning again and again to what is steady, clear, and profoundly alive within you. A way of waking not in frantic reaction, but in a conscious reciprocal relationship with life itself. And when that relationship deepens morning by morning, you no longer need to ask how to be productive or how to effectively rest. Instead, you instinctively ask, how can I be present? How can I move through this day with genuine kindness? How can I meet this day in a way that does not drain me, but profoundly restores me? This is the living middle way, not as a mere concept, but as a deeply lived path, one step, one breath, one morning at a time. Death contemplation, living with sacred urgency. When you've consciously stepped into the morning without resistance, when you've chosen neither to force yourself through it nor to withdraw from it, something deeper becomes possible. With neither extreme pulling you out of alignment, a new kind of space opens up within you, quiet, direct, and intimately present. You're not rushing, you're not stuck, you're simply here. And in that profound stillness, you begin to sense something unmistakably true. This day has never happened before, and it will never happen again. That truth, so simple, so easy to overlook amidst the daily rush, is the powerful seed of one of the most transformative practices in all of Buddhist thought, death contemplation. This is not embraced as a practice of fear or sadness, but as a profound doorway, a way to see clearly, to feel deeply, and to live with an urgency that isn't frantic, but deeply and profoundly awake. Because when you consciously meet the morning with the quiet, sobering awareness that life is not guaranteed, everything changes. Not into panic, but into an intensified, embodied presence. In traditional Buddhist teachings, death contemplation is never intended to be morbid or dark. On the contrary, it is inherently liberating. It is designed to cut through illusion, not to create despair, but to destroy forgetfulness, the insidious forgetfulness of our impermanent nature and the preciousness of this present moment. And there may be no more potent time to engage in this reflection than right after waking. Your mind is still fresh, uncluttered by the day's demands. You have not yet numbed yourself with habitual distractions. You are still profoundly close to the delicate state of sleep, that liminal, near-death softness where identity temporarily dissolves. From that receptive place, you can gently reflect, this breath is an unearned gift. This body, still warm and moving, is not owed to me. It is temporary. It is mine only for now. When you bring this profound awareness into your consciousness at the very start of your day, you don't become heavier. Paradoxically, you become significantly lighter. Because the myriad things that usually weigh you down, small worries, imagined problems, nagging habits of complaint, the endless quest for more, begin to lose their insidious power. You see through them, recognizing their ephemeral nature. You remember deeply within your being that nothing here is permanent. No moment, no emotion, no mistake, no achievement. And that fundamental remembrance doesn't diminish responsibility. It radically sharpens it. It quietly but powerfully tells you, while you are here, be here fully. Reflecting on death does not mean rejecting life. It means with absolute clarity, not postponing it. The mind left unchecked is always subtly preparing to live later. Later when everything is perfect. Later when things are easier. Later when I have more time, more money, more success. But later is not real. It is a mental construct and illusion. Mourning death. Contemplation is designed to cut through that insidious pattern. It instantly brings you back into the sacred vessel of your body, into the living rhythm of your breath, and into the profound beauty that is already present in your life, but so often tragically unseen. This practice is deceptively simple, but profoundly impactful. As you wake, pause, feel the subtle rise and fall of your breath. Feel the steady rhythm of your heartbeat. Acknowledge the undeniable truth, I am alive right now. I will not always be. Today could genuinely be my last. This is not a dramatization meant to induce fear, but a powerful grounding. You don't have to believe it will happen today. You just have to know that it could. That raw, honest awareness, held for even a single minute, fundamentally reshapes how you value the time ahead. It becomes demonstrably harder to take people for granted, harder to cling to old grudges, harder to walk through the day half awake, because the truth of impermanence humbles the ego. It softens the hard edges of judgment. It creates expansive space for love, where fear used to reside. You begin to speak more directly with greater authenticity. You listen more carefully, with genuine presence. You move through the world with profound care, not because you are fragile, but because you intrinsically understand how utterly precious and fleeting this very moment is. In Tibetan Buddhist practice, practitioners are diligently taught to remember death every single day, not to induce sadness, but to cultivate a radical sense of freedom. Freedom from delay, freedom from the seductive illusion of endless time, freedom from clinging to what ultimately doesn't matter. This memory, when held properly, is not heavy, it is light. It opens the heart, services the mind, and generates the potent energy needed to live consistently in alignment with what truly matters. This practice also powerfully builds courage. Often, fear is rooted in illusion, fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of not having enough. But when you deeply accept that all things pass, including your very self, the suffocating grip of those fears begins to dissolve. You realize you don't have to wait for perfect conditions to live courageously. You don't need an absolute guarantee to act from your heart, because what is there to truly lose, really, when everything is already in motion, already changing, already on its way towards dissolution? This kind of honest reflection inherently invites simplicity. When you sit with the stark fact that this could genuinely be your last sunrise, many of the unnecessary complications in your mind simply fall away. You don't need to fix every single problem before you allow yourself to smile. You don't need to prove your worth before you feel a deep sense of peace. You begin to instinctively prioritize what truly nourishes your soul, what genuinely connects you to others, what feels authentically real. And often it's not the grand monumental things. It's bare presence, it's unflinching honesty. It's not wasting precious time trying to be someone you're not. And because this practice is typically done in the quiet sanctity of dawn, it doesn't require words. You don't need to say anything aloud. You simply sit with the raw awareness. You might silently repeat to yourself, "This life is temporary. May I live it well. This breath is a gift. May I meet it fully." These reminders are not mere affirmations or wishful thinking. They are profound truths. And your body, with its innate wisdom, instantly knows the difference. The nervous system softens. The thoughts slow down. The external distractions lose their manufactured urgency. There's also a profound, undeniable gratitude woven into this practice. Not a forced gratitude, but a natural, visceral kind that arises when you realize that merely opening your eyes is not a trivial event. It is an immense privilege, that walking to the kitchen, a mundane act, is not guaranteed, that having the chance to greet someone you love is not something to postpone until later. Gratitude that emerges from this kind of contemplation isn't conceptual, it is visceral. It resides in your bones, informing how you move through space, how you touch objects, how you greet people. Everything becomes more intimate, more precious. And you don't have to think about death in overly dramatic ways. You don't have to picture anything gruesome or frightening. You just need to hold the quiet awareness that change is real, that nothing is held forever. Even the emotions you feel right now will pass. That's why you don't need to desperately escape them. You just need to stay with them until they naturally shift, which they always will. Death contemplation, when understood and practiced in this way, is not just about mortality. It's profoundly about movement, about remembering that life flows, and your primary job is to be fully present inside that flow. This practice also cultivates a deeper sense of forgiveness, not only for others, but crucially for yourself. When you hold the clear reality that one day you will not be here, it becomes undeniably harder to criticize yourself for every perceived flaw or stumble. You stop demanding an impossible perfection from a being that is by its very nature always changing and evolving. You begin to see your own humanity with a profound tender kindness. You understand that growth matters, but it doesn't require relentless self-punishment or harsh judgment. You realize that compassion and impermanence are not opposites, they are profound companions. In traditional monastic settings, monks reflect each morning not only on the reality of death, but on the immense opportunity of life. The two concepts are never separate because knowing that something ends is precisely what makes it so incredibly beautiful and precious. This profound understanding refines your daily decisions. You stop wasting precious energy on lingering resentment. You stop trading your invaluable attention for trivial distractions. You begin to deeply value direct lived experience over mere stories about experience. And the more consistently you practice this, the more you begin to see death not as the opposite of life, but as its inherent partner, as the very force that gives meaning to every word, every gesture, every quiet cup of tea. You stop needing dramatic, extraordinary moments to feel alive. You begin to find profound depth and sacredness in the ordinary, because every ordinary moment is in truth remarkably rare. There will never be another version of this morning. Not with this exact sky, not with this exact breath, not with this unique version of you. That kind of seeing fundamentally changes what you choose to carry. You let go more easily. You speak with greater care and deliberation. You stop needing to rush because you are no longer operating from a hidden fear of being behind. You intrinsically know that life is not fundamentally about arrival. It's about presence. And genuine presence is only possible when you are not hypnotized by the illusion of endless time. This powerful awareness also profoundly supports service. When you deeply know your time is limited, you begin to ask better, more meaningful questions. How can I genuinely help today? What can I truly give in this moment? Rather than constantly seeking to take or accumulate, you stop measuring your value by what you gain. You begin to measure it by how deeply and authentically you show up. This isn't about doing more, it's about being more real. When you are intimately aware of death, your core values sharpen, and you align more naturally and effortlessly with them. You also become significantly more patient, because what's the real rush truly? When you perceive the inherent impermanence of all things, you stop demanding that they move faster or conform to your timelines. You allow them to unfold naturally. You stop shouting at the river and begin walking peacefully beside it. You don't squander your precious energy on things you cannot control. You preserve it for the places where your conscious presence can actually make a genuine difference. And this preservation of energy becomes a kind of quiet strength, a profound maturity. You stop being pulled around by every fleeting thought or transient mood. You're not pretending life is easy or without challenge. You're simply not surprised when it's hard, and because of that, you meet it differently. Not braced, not panicked, but steady, clear, and profoundly alive. This inner steadiness is precisely what gives rise to a deeper, more abiding joy. Not superficial happiness, but the profound joy that comes from being intimately connected to fundamental truth. You're not distracting yourself from what's hard. You're not passively waiting for everything to be perfect. You are living now fully without clinging, without delay. This is the profound gift of death contemplation. And when practiced each morning, even for a few quiet breaths, it radically transforms the way you meet the world. You don't need to change everything externally. You just need to see clearly. And from that clarity, love becomes easier. Forgiveness becomes natural. Courage becomes your true baseline, not because life is certain, but precisely because it isn't, and you are courageously awake for it completely. Bear attention, finding the sacred in the ordinary. Once the fire of Samvega has been genuinely felt, once you've allowed the potent energy of truth to rise within your body without it spiraling into panic, a distinct moment emerges, a profound softening. This isn't a lapse into laziness, but a return to fundamental simplicity. The desire to act, to live with purpose, is now vibrantly awake. Yet not everything demands grand effort or monumental action. In fact, the most powerful and sustainable shift that often follows Samvega is the profound art of learning to meet ordinary mundane life with extraordinary attention. Because while urgency provides the vital spark to begin, what truly sustains your path isn't a series of dramatic actions. It's unwavering presence in the smallest, most unremarkable things. This is precisely where the practice of bare attention begins. It's not dramatic. It doesn't necessarily feel special or profound in the moment. But it is absolutely foundational. And in the early hours of the morning, this practice becomes your direct doorway into living with profound depth without needing a constant stream of external inspiration or emotional highs. Bare attention isn't about doing more. It's about doing the same things differently, with more clarity, more stillness, and more fundamental truth. Zen and Vipassana teachings, ancient and profound, both point to the same liberating insight. Everything you need for awakening is already here. You don't need to embark on a pilgrimage to a distant temple. You don't require absolute silence or an abundance of free time. All you truly need is awareness applied gently and fully in this present moment, and then diligently in the next. The place where this insight becomes most strikingly clear is often not during formal meditation sittings, but during your habitual routines, the very things we perform every single day without a second thought. Waking up, brushing our teeth, making the bed, walking to the kitchen sink. These are the moments we typically rush through our minds, already miles ahead, lost in planning or worrying. Yet these are also the precise moments where the mind can learn stillness and presence more powerfully than in any formal seated posture. The mundane as meditation, the toothbrushing example. Toothbrushing might seem like an unlikely or even absurd place to seek profound insight. But that's precisely the point. Enlightenment or true liberation isn't reserved exclusively for deep silence and fragrant incense. It spontaneously shows up wherever you are truly willing to be fully present. When you stand at the bathroom sink in the morning, perhaps still half asleep, your body moves automatically. Your mind is already jumping ahead to the day's demands. But what happens when you consciously pause and bring full, unwavering awareness into that seemingly ordinary act? What happens when you truly feel the brush meeting your teeth, the texture of the foam forming in your mouth, the subtle rhythm of your arm moving, the temperature of the water as you rinse, the distinct smell of the toothpaste? It transforms from a rote chore into a profound practice, not of performance or achievement, but of simple, direct noticing. This is bare attention. It's not analysis. You're not naming things intellectually. You're not judging anything as good or bad, right or wrong. You're simply seeing, feeling, being, without adding anything extra or trying to remove anything. The breath is there, the body is there, and you, the awareness, are fully there, completely present. And for those few minutes, you are not at elsewhere. You're not trying to be different from who you are. You're not trying to finish fast. You are just brushing your teeth, and you are profoundly alive while doing it. This may not sound outwardly impressive, but it changes everything within you, because the mind that learns how to be present while brushing teeth can over time also be present during challenging conversations, during demanding work tasks, during moments of sadness, and during moments of profound joy. Presence is not a switch you magically turn on only when you need it. It is built in the small, often overlooked spaces. It is systematically strengthened through consistent, mindful repetition. Vipassana meditation, often translated as insight. Meditation teaches us to observe phenomena without clinging, without resistance, to simply see what's happening in the present moment without trying to change it, fix it, or make it different. This observation is direct, raw. It doesn't filter through layers of mental commentary, judgment, or storytelling, and that kind of pure seeing is incredibly rare in our modern, overstimulated world. the mind is typically used to adding to commenting, planning, and reacting. But when you systematically train it to simply rest in direct experience, it begins to profoundly change. You start to realize that you can stay awake and engaged inside moments that once felt utterly boring or mundane. And when boredom dissolves, what remains is something simple, sacred, and deeply nourishing life as it is in its unadorned reality. Morning routines are particularly powerful practice grounds, precisely because they are inherently repetitive. And repetition, when infused with awareness, systematically creates new neural pathways in the brain. When you consistently bring conscious awareness into these routines, you're not wasting time. You're actively deepening those pathways. You're teaching your nervous system how to move with attention rather than mere reflex. You are fundamentally retraining your brain's default mode. The simple act of brushing your teeth, therefore, becomes a form of meditation, but not because the act itself changes. It's because you change how you meet it. And this practice systematically trains the same invaluable qualities that formal meditation does: patience, non-reactivity, embodiment, and most importantly, unwavering consistency. Enlightenment isn't a singular moment of magic or a sudden flash. It is a long, steady patient returning to what is true. And brushing your teeth, precisely because it happens every single day, is a perfect, accessible training ground. If you can meet that with profound presence, what else might you be capable of meeting? Zen often teaches through direct experience, not through abstract ideas or intellectual beliefs. The teaching is always in the moment, in the act, in the absolute now. And that profound teaching is always available in your bathroom, in your kitchen, in your quiet walk to the front door. When you consciously make your bed, do you truly feel the texture of the fabric against your hands? Do you notice the subtle shift in your posture as you bend, stretch, and smooth the surface? Do you sense the quiet pride that arises from tidying a space? Or are you already thinking about the next task miles away in your mind? This practice isn't about artificially slowing down. It's not about doing everything in exaggerated slow motion. It's about performing things at their natural, efficient pace, but with full, unwavering attention. That attention, even for a mere 30 seconds, begins to cultivate a profound stillness. Not the absence of physical movement, but the liberating absence of internal resistance. You're not fighting the moment, you are wholeheartedly with it. And that full engagement gives rise to a quiet, abiding joy. Not the loud, boisterous kind, but the subtle, gentle kind. The kind that shows up when the mind is no longer split between past and future, when your hands are moving and your awareness is moving in perfect unison with them. There's no past, no future, just presence, just this. And in that spacious awareness, even the seemingly trivial act of rinsing your mouth becomes an integral part of your profound path, shifting self-perception and embracing intimacy. This practice also fundamentally transforms how you perceive yourself. You gradually stop identifying so strongly with your thoughts because you realize they are merely temporary visitors, always coming and going. But the underlying awareness, the witnessing presence, remains constant. You are not simply the one brushing your teeth while thinking 100 things. You are the one who sees, who notices, who observes. And from that expansive place, your ingrained sense of self begins to soften, to become less rigid. You are no longer merely the character in a predetermined story. You are the vast field of attention that watches the story arise and pass. This is not cold detachment. It is profound intimacy. You are not withdrawing from life. You are entering it more fully, more deeply through the ordinary, through the very things you usually ignore. And that subtle shift fundamentally changes your entire day. Because once you begin your morning in this mindful way, presence gracefully follows you into your breakfast, into your very steps, into the tone of your voice. And yes, you will inevitably forget. Your mind will wander. You will rush at times. That's perfectly okay. Bare attention isn't about achieving a state of permanent perfection. It's about returning without judgment, again and again. Not because you should, but because you've genuinely tasted the difference. And that difference feels like coming home. Even when life becomes incredibly busy and demanding, this practice doesn't disappear. It simply simplifies. You bring attention to your breath while washing your face. You feel your feet firmly on the ground while walking to the kitchen. You notice the first sip of water as if it's the very first sip you've ever tasted. And this consistent, gentle noticing systematically rewires you. It teaches your mind to stay rooted in what's real and immediate instead of compulsively chasing what's imagined or external. This profound attention also cultivates heightened emotional awareness, because when you slow down enough to feel the physical sensation of the brush on your teeth, you also begin to gently feel what's truly present in your heart. Are you anxious? Do you feel a sense of heaviness? Is there tenderness? Bare attention inherently includes all of this. You're not attempting to fix your emotional state. You're simply including it. You're quietly saying, this too is part of this moment. And that radical inclusion brings a deep sense of peace. You are no longer at war with what you feel. You are simply here, fully present with all of it. Zen sometimes refers to this as just this. Whatever is happening, just this. Nothing extra. No need to layer meaning. No need to escape. When brushing, just brushing. When thinking, just thinking. When breathing, just breathing. This may sound disarmingly simple. It is. But in that very simplicity lies the deepest wisdom. Because when you truly meet what is, you meet yourself. Not as a fixed idea or a rigid identity, but as a living, breathing awareness, profoundly present in this ordinary, sacred act. So now your morning is no longer divided. The spiritual and the mundane are recognized as one and the same. The brushing of teeth, the folding of clothes, the natural movement of breath, each one becomes a doorway, each one a profound practice, not because you artificially made it special, but because you chose to meet it fully, with unwavering attention. And that meeting again and again is what fundamentally shapes your entire day. It's not about strenuous effort. It's not about flawless performance. It's about attention, bare open, and unflinchingly honest. And from that raw honesty, life itself effortlessly unfolds. The unfolding path, waking up to your whole life. Once you've brought full attention into the most ordinary parts of your morning, once you've felt presence settle into your hands as they move through quiet ritual, another profound question starts to surface softly, almost from behind the silence. If I can observe my movements so clearly, who exactly is observing? If I am not my thoughts, not my tasks, not even this body performing these familiar actions, then what am I? This is not a puzzle to be solved. It's an invitation, a sacred moment to begin your day. Not as the character you usually play, but as the underlying awareness beneath all the roles. Before your coffee, before conversation, before you pick up the thread of your life story again, there exists a rare and invaluable space. A moment before identity fully takes hold, a subtle gap where the mind is not yet repeating all its usual definitions. And in that space, you can step into one of the most radical and liberating reflections in all of Buddhist thought, the contemplation of anatta non-self. This is not a denial of your existence. It's not about disappearing or rejecting your life. It's about seeing through the profound illusion that there is a fixed, unchanging, independent self residing somewhere behind everything you do. Because the truth is, the you who wakes up each morning is demonstrably not the same as the one who went to sleep. The thoughts are different. The feelings shift. The body changes subtly, breath by breath, cell by cell. What stays constant is not a rigid personality or a fixed entity. What stays is the awareness of change itself. Anatta reflection begins not by intellectual thinking, but by pure observation. You wake up and you simply notice sensations, the feeling of the sheets against your skin, the temperature of the air, the mind beginning to stir and move. But if you look closely, none of these individual experiences, in and of themselves, inherently declare I. A thought arises, but where exactly is the thinker located? The body shifts, but where is the fixed owner of that body? What you truly find, if you look with unwavering presence, is a dynamic flow of movement without a static controller, life unfolding, without a central separate self directing it. This profound insight doesn't lead to confusion or nihilism. It leads directly to freedom, because most of the suffering we unconsciously carry into the day stems from the deeply ingrained belief in a solid, enduring self, a self that must constantly be protected, improved, defended, and validated. When you begin your morning by gently relaxing that belief, your emotional reactivity immediately softens. You no longer feel a compulsive need to defend a fixed image of yourself. You no longer feel personally attacked by every differing opinion or minor setback. You become significantly less self-referential and consequently more profoundly available to life precisely as it is without resistance. This doesn't mean you lose your preferences, your memories, or your unique personality. It means you stop identifying with them as your core essence. You stop rigidly proclaiming, "This is me," and you start quietly recognizing, "This is arising." That subtle but powerful shift creates immense internal spaciousness. You can feel a strong emotion without being overwhelmed or consumed by it. You can hear criticism without collapsing into self-doubt. You can face profound uncertainty without automatically constructing an elaborate story of fear around it, because the ego, in its desperate attempt to survive compulsively, needs stories. Anatta gently sees through that need. In early morning practice, this reflection can be remarkably simple. As you wake, pause. Notice each experience that arises: a thought, a breath, a feeling, and gently ask yourself, without forcing an intellectual answer, who is this happening to? Is there a fixed self here, or just awareness watching experience unfold? You're not seeking a definitive answer. You're simply loosening the tenacious grip of assumption, the deep-seated assumption that you are solely your name, your job, your personal history. Those things are real, yes, but they are not the whole of who you are. They are parts, temporary changing parts. This doesn't create distance from life. It paradoxically brings you closer. Because when you stop filtering everything through the rigid lens of me, you begin to see more clearly. You see others without the distorting filter of comparison. You see beauty without the compulsive need to own or possess it. You perceive pain without immediately making it about your own identity. That's what makes this reflection so profoundly practical. It reduces self-centered thinking, not through guilt or external imposition, but through the direct felt experience of what is actually happening. You might begin this practice by simply observing your language, even your internal dialogue. Notice how often the mind reflexively uses my or I, my plan, my success, my mistake, my image. Then gently pause and ask, what is truly mine here? What part of this is unchanging? What can I truly hold on to forever? Usually the honest answer is nothing, and that's not bad news. It's the profound opening to peace, because if nothing is truly fixed, then nothing needs to be perfect. If there is no solid separate self to constantly protect, then you don't need to react to every challenge or perceived slight as a personal threat. This reflection also fosters a different, more expansive kind of compassion. When you clearly see that others are also operating from the deeply ingrained illusion of a fixed self, you stop blaming them as deeply or personally. You begin to understand that their fear, their pride, their anger, these too are often unconscious reactions built around fiercely protecting something fragile and imagined. You're no longer caught in the dramatic narrative. You can respond from a place of clear awareness, not automatic reflex. Practicing anatta in the morning provides your entire day with a lighter, more expansive foundation. It effectively removes the immense pressure to perform to constantly prove your existence or to seek constant external validation. You begin to feel a quiet, abiding stability, one that is not based on your role, your appearance, or your achievements, but on something much deeper, the knowing itself, the bare luminous presence that is always here, quietly observing all of it come and go. And when the mind forgets, which it inevitably will, the practice is simply to return. You don't need to be in a perfectly quiet room or sit in formal meditation. You can reflect on anatta while brushing your teeth, while making tea, while putting on your shoes. You simply pause and observe. Thought is arising, sound is arising, this posture is being felt, but nowhere is there a solid separate self, just process, just experience, just unfolding. This kind of seeing is not cold or distant. It makes life feel more vibrantly alive, more spacious, because you stop needing to control everything. You stop needing every moment to perfectly serve your image, and that liberation frees up immense energy, attention, and love. You can be more genuinely present with others because you're not constantly measuring how they make you feel about yourself. You're not using every interaction as a mirror for your ego. This also changes how you relate to your goals. You still work, you still grow, but you're not doing it to inflate an identity. You're doing it because the moment calls for it, because the work matters, not because it defines you. That makes action cleaner, lighter, more honest. You're not trying to become someone, you're simply expressing what's already unfolding. When challenges arise, the same profound insight applies. You can feel fear or sadness, but you don't have to claim it as inherently yours. You can skillfully say, fear is present, instead of rigidly stating, I am afraid. That small but significant shift in language changes how the emotion is held. It doesn't mean you avoid your feelings. It means you stop being controlled by them. You allow them to pass through, knowing they are not the core of what you are. And the more you train in this reflection, the more your baseline shifts. You stop waking up trapped in a rigid, fixed story. You stop carrying yesterday's identity as if it's carved in stone. You begin to live with more curiosity, more openness, more peace. You still have a name, a body, a life, but they no longer define you. You can hold them lightly, use them wisely, and release them when it's time. This is what freedom looks like. Not an escape from life, but a deeper intimacy with it. Not a disappearance of self, but a softening of the rigid boundaries that keep you from seeing clearly. And as the morning continues, you carry that softness forward into movement, into speech, into the next thing you do. Not as a self trying to become more, but as pure awareness simply showing up for what is. That is how you begin to wake, not just from sleep, but from the ego's pervasive dream, quietly, gently, fully. The integrated path, waking up to your whole life. And now here you are at the end of this journey, but truly at the beginning of a profound new way to wake up. We've walked through the sacredness of the first breath, understood sleep as a dharmic practice of release, explored the power of the bodhisattva, vow to anchor your purpose, felt the resonance of sacred sound, to tune your inner frequency, trained the heart with the four immeasurables, to open with compassion, navigated the middle way, to find balance and effort, contemplated death, to ignite a sacred urgency, and practiced bare attention to find depth in the ordinary. We've even touched upon the profound wisdom of anatta, the understanding of non-self, to liberate identity itself. What you've just heard isn't just knowledge, it's a comprehensive blueprint, a daily invitation to return, to rise not merely out of habit, but out of conscious purpose, to meet your first breath not with panic, but with inherent power, to move through your morning not by reacting to external demands, but by skillfully responding with presence, with compassion, and with deep, unwavering alignment. Each of these practices, while distinct, interweaves and builds upon the others, creating a seamless, holistic approach to your morning and, by extension, your entire day. The breath is your constant anchor, always available. Conscious sleep ensures you begin from a place of restoration. The Bodhisattva vow sets your overarching intention for service. Sacred sound tunes your inner resonance. The four immeasurables open and train your heart. The middle way guides your energy and actions. Death contemplation brings liberating urgency and clarity. Samvega fuels your aligned efforts, and bare attention transforms every ordinary moment into a profound practice. The understanding of anatta underpins it all, dissolving the rigid self that often creates suffering. This is not a destination you reach. It is an ongoing path, a continuous process of returning not to perfection, but to presence. You will forget, your mind will wander, you will rush. But the essence of the practice lies in the gentle, unwavering act of returning again and again. And the beauty of this integration is that it ripples out far beyond the morning hours. A mind trained in stillness, compassion, and presence will naturally carry those qualities into every interaction, every task, every challenge. Your reactions will soften, your focus will deepen, your ability to connect authentically with others will flourish. This isn't about becoming a different person. It's about awakening to the person you inherently are beneath the layers of conditioning and habit. The transformation of your inner world inevitably manifests as a profound and positive impact on your outer world. Whether you choose to begin by simply observing your breath, by honoring a period of silence, by subtly questioning the nature of the self, or by simply resisting the insidious pull of the snooze button, every single small step you take in those precious early hours creates powerful ripples. Tiny choices consistently applied build into a steady, unwavering practice leading to profound, genuine freedom. This journey is a profound invitation to reclaim your mornings, and in doing so, to reclaim your entire life. It's an invitation to live with intention, to move with awareness, and to meet each day, not just as a series of tasks, but as a sacred unfolding. Thank you for embarking on this deep dive into Buddhist wisdom for waking up differently. Your time, your attention, and your willingness to engage with these practices are invaluable. May your mornings be wise, your days grounded, and your heart always open. What is one part of your morning you feel called to transform or bring more awareness to, having explored these ideas?